It's over 100 years since World War I, but the images of the front lines haven't changed a bit out here. And like the Christmases of the Great War, the troops on both sides, dug into the trenches, are holding out for the new year. Holding out and hoping they'll make it. These are the Ukrainian army's trenches in the east of the country. They snake along a 250-mile demarcation line. Across a narrow no-man's land, a Russian-backed separatist militia, and they're equally well dug in. The narrow walkways and tunnels, the near silence, all add to an eerie sense of foreboding. And there are constant reminders that this is a war. Just past a sign saying, "Beware, sniper." There's been a ceasefire here since 2015, but it's constantly violated, with both sides accusing the other. But Russia's now involved, building up troops, even threatening an invasion. The Ukrainian soldiers think it's a bluff, but they say they're ready anyway.
У нас люди уже реально знают уже конкретно, кто враг, потому что в 2014 году, когда это все начиналось, еще не было такого, в сознаниях людей не было такого, что типа как это так, типа наш ближайший сосед всегда изначально был, типа мы считали их там типа нашими братьями, да, как многие говорят раньше говорили, пойдут в наступление. И мы уже ментально мы уже меняемся, мы уже ментально отходим от Советского Союза, мы уже готовы.
With heat-seeking cameras, the soldiers attempt to monitor the troops and equipment on the separatist side. Their front line is that row of trees. It's barely 100 meters away. Well, despite all the diplomatic moves, conversations between the United States and Russia, and the increasing evidence to show that there are more and more Russian troops, at least gathering not far away, it doesn't actually make much difference to these guys. They're sort of stuck in these World War I style trenches, and they've just got to wait and see if they're attacked or not. They've literally got no choice. These lines aren't as remote as they appear, however. They're actually near where some people still live. These frontline towns in the industrial heartlands of eastern Ukraine are tough-looking reminders of the Soviet past. Those who couldn't leave are stuck in the midst of a continuing conflict. The streets are pretty empty. A few cyclists venture out in the mornings. Amongst them, 13-year-old Danya Kachenko. Every day he gets on his bike to go fishing. He heads to the reservoir that cools a nearby power station. His uncle taught him to build this net before he too left because of the war. What Danya catches, he sells to local markets. With the money, he feeds the town's homeless dogs, abandoned in the evacuation. Left behind, like this little boy and his mum. The fighting has gone on for half of his life. It's just part of it now.
Когда стреляют, надо прятаться либо в какой-то бугор ложиться, если ты на открытой местности, а если ты в городе, надо либо в подъезд забежать, либо в подвал зайти, если он открытый. Страшно сначала было, а сейчас мы уже как привыкли к этому, то что там слышим выстрелы автоматов, пулеметов, как-то уже не очень страшно.
In truth, there are thousands of Danyas all along the demarcation line. Caught up in a conflict they can't escape from, learning to live with a war that hasn't stopped for 8 Christmases in a row. Stuart Ramsey, Sky News, Eastern Ukraine.